What's up? Thanks to my subscribers out there. So I found this article from the New York Times back in 1988. We're going to skip around a little bit. White House confirms Reagan's follow astrology, up to a point. President Reagan and his wife Nancy are both deeply interested in astrology, the White House spokesman Marlin Fitzwater said today, and two former White House officials said Mrs. Reagan's concern had influenced the scheduling of important events. A California astrologer said she had been consulted by the Reagans regarding key White House decisions, but Mr. Reagan said astrology had not influenced policy. Then why consult an astrologer? Followers of astrology believe the alignment of stars and planets influence human affairs. Such people consult charts based on their birth dates for clues concerning many decisions. Mr. Fitzwater said Mrs. Reagan is particularly worried about the impact of astrological portents can have on her husband's safety, but he declined to say exactly how Mrs. Reagan had used astrological information. And the president, answering a question at a photo-taking session, said, "No policy or decision in my mind has ever been influenced by astrology." Again, so why were you consulting an astrologer? The issue was stirred up by reports first published in Newsweek that Donald T. Reagan, the former White House chief of staff, discusses the role of astrology in his memoirs. This guy here, it's been documented, look it up, that he said that a lot, if not all, of the Wall Street bankers consult and use astrology. Another former official said the president timed his announcement that he would run for re-election after he and his wife consulted astrological signs. Early in his political career, Mr. Reagan scheduled his inauguration as governor of California in January 1967 to take place at an odd time, 12:10 a.m. News reports at the time said the decision was made to take advantage of favorable astrological portents. Now, let's back this up. The president, answering a question at a photo-taking session, said, quote, "No policy or decision in my mind has ever been influenced by astrology," unquote. Early in his political career, Mr. Reagan scheduled his inauguration as governor of California in January 1967 to take place at an odd time, 12:10 a.m. News reports at the time said the decision was made to take advantage of favorable astrological portents. Isn't that something? In an answer to a barrage of questions today, Mr. Fitzwater said, "It's true that Mrs. Reagan has an interest in astrology. She has for some time, particularly following the assassination attempt in March of 1981. She was very concerned for her husband's welfare, and astrology has been part of her concern in terms of his activities." The spokesman said the Reagans were distressed at the disclosures concerning their interest in astrology. "They both feel it's unfortunate and a distraction and hardly relevant to the business of government." Again, then why consult astrologers? Friends of Mrs. Reagan said she has long had an interest in astrology, but only a few of her aides apparently knew that she had an emotional concern. Tonight, on the ABC News program Nightline, Ted Koppel reported that he had learned that before the president was shot on March 30th, 1981, an astrologer warned Mrs. Reagan that something bad would happen that day. In an interview after the show, Mr. Koppel said a woman astrologer had told Mrs. Reagan that there was going to be an incident on that day. Mr. Koppel would not identify the source of his information. Yeah, I bet he wouldn't. It was probably a little goofy guy in a little funny black hat. A leading Republican strategist with close ties to the White House said their reports would be, a leading Republican strategist with close ties to the White House said the reports would not be damaging to the president, but others said the disclosures revealed a character trait in the president and his wife that had remained largely hidden to the public. Marcello Truzzi, a professor of sociology at Eastern Michigan University, said he has collected evidence over many years documenting the Reagans' interest in astrology. Friends of Mrs. Reagan considered her reading of her daily horoscope a fun pastime, as one confidant put it. In his autobiography, President Reagan refers to Carol Ryder, a well-known California astrologer, as one of our good friends. Professor Truzzi noted that President Theodore Roosevelt was an astrology buff, and that President Franklin D. Roosevelt quoted horoscopes. Many other world leaders were known for their interest in astrology. Isn't that amazing? So they tell you, nah, it's got nothing to do with anything, while behind closed doors they're meeting with these astrologers because they're keeping its importance. Where is it? Largely hidden to the public. How about this from J.P. Morgan? This is a good one. J.P. Morgan and astrology. The statement that millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do, is attributed to John Pierpont Morgan. Now, if you look into this, there's also people saying, well, we can't really find a source per se that he said this. Well, you can't debunk it then, can you? Can't prove it, but you can't disprove it. So when you have all this stuff on top of it, sorry, I believe he used it, but that's just me. All these guys do. So I just thought that was a pretty rad article from 1988 where they literally talking out of both sides of their mouth. Yeah, it's got no influence on anything, but we talk to these people, these astrologers, and we consult them, and we read horoscopes and pay attention to all that stuff, and announce big announcements on certain times to have alignments going on and all this what have you. So pretty funny stuff. Just thought that was one of those. It just kind of reminded me of the Dave Chappelle Rick James skit. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but really funny. And Rick James goes on there and he says, I never did things just to do them. Because supposedly he jumped up on the musician Rick James jumped up on Eddie Murphy's couch and grinded his dirty cowboy boots in it, ruined the couch. And they interview Rick James all these years later, and he says, I never did things just to do them. What am I going to do? Just jump up on someone's couch and grind my feet in it like it's something to do? I got a little bit more sense than that. Then he goes, yeah, I remember grinding my feet in Eddie's couch. And then they rewind the tape, and he says it again. I never did things just to do them. What am I going to do? Just jump up on someone's feet and grind my feet in somebody's couch like it's something to do? I got a little bit more sense than that. Yeah, I remember grinding my feet in Eddie's couch. I mean, it runs the exact same thing. Exact same thing. One Reagan comes out and says it's got no influence on anything, but I've been consulting an astrologer all day. All right, so now a word from my sponsor, me. If you like my information or my video, please check out my website here, dearlybelovedband.com. My album streaming for free. You can click here and buy it for $4.99 or 50 cents a song. And if you like what you hear, all you gotta do is email it or send me a message, and I'll email it to you for free. Okay, thanks to everybody out there.